Charlie and the Chocolate Factory theory is really creepy. So Mr. Willy Wonka is actually a serial killer. Sounds crazy, but let me explain. So every one of those kids, excluding Charlie, has a thought-out death plan. For instance, Augustus falls into the chocolate river and accidentally ends up being sucked up by one of the pipes
for a facial and later finding out you are diagnosed with HIV. At least 3 women have been infected with HIV after getting this cosmetic procedure called vampire facial in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you don't know what a vampire facial is, it's the procedure where they take a sample of your blood from your body, then separate the plasma and the red blood cells, and then they inject the plasma back into your face with microneedling. And there's a number of reasons why people get this done, a major one being to brighten the skin, improve fine lines, wrinkles, acne, and overall rejuvenate the skin. But after these women were diagnosed, an investigation was conducted, and it turns out that this spa was unlicensed. They also found unlabeled tubes of blood lying on the kitchen counter and syringes stored in the fridge along with food. It's also been said that this spa was reusing disposable equipment, which is most likely how these people were infected. This clinic had hundreds of clients, and it's possible that more people were infected, but they just don't know it yet. The clinic was closed down and the owner was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Can we just talk about Gypsy Rose on Keeping Up with the Kardashians? So in a past interview, Gypsy Rose stated that she really wanted to meet Kim to talk about prison reform. And again, in case you guys all forgot, Gypsy went to prison for about 8 years for the murder of her mother. And since Kim has experience in prison reform, Gypsy wanted to get together with her so that they can talk about how to make the prison system a lot better. Okay. But is it just me, or is this getting a little weird? I know that there's people that truly support Gypsy, and then there's people who still think that she should be in prison. But at the end of the day, she did murder someone, and I just find it odd that she is essentially famous because of it. And of course, Gypsy did her time, but I've yet to see anyone else be released from prison after doing what she did and become famous. I know we talk a lot about Gypsy Rose on my page, and I do sympathize with her and everything that she went through as a child. But since her release, she hasn't really been low-key about anything, and I get it, a lot of people are very interested about her story and what happened to her. I was too. And now it's at the point where she has 2 TV shows about her life. She goes to these red carpets, and now she's on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I find it very, very interesting, and I just really want to know the point of this collab. Some people think that Keeping Up with the Kardashians has not been doing the greatest, so they brought Gypsy in just to get more viewers. What do you guys think?
I ain't gonna lie, I believe what she said about bringing her in to get more views, because, yeah, I guess, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, everybody used to watch that show, but now, it's like, it's on streaming now, stuff like that. The game has changed. But what she said about Gypsy, bro, that is kind of like, she's hitting the nail on the head, because, like, once she got out, she damn near, like she said, she's famous, even though, like, we know what she did. But for her to get that type of fame of attention, it really makes you question things in the world.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident.
No.
Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day, 2 men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese, even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Ciceria was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple of days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
Superpowers exist in this world? What the hell, Seekers, man? This is my first time hearing these cases. You think cases like this would make, like, national news or something like that. But the one that kept hitting the head over the nails, when somebody got a concussion, they just, like, unlocked a certain part of their brain, and they was able to do certain things they weren't able to do before. We're gonna have to look into that, bro. Insane.
Have you ever wondered what happened on this exact date 300 years ago? Well, this is what happened in history today, part 1. Up first, on July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. It was carrying Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, who would become the first humans to walk on the moon. Next up, on July 20th, 1793, Scottish explorer Alexander Mackenzie completed the first European east to west crossing of America north of Mexico. It's crazy to me that on this exact day a couple hundred years ago, people were exploring the land that we call home. Next up, on July 20th, 1881, Sioux Indian chief Sitting Bull surrendered to the U.S. federal troops. Sitting Bull was an Indian tribe leader who led his people during years of resistance against United States government policies. He surrendered in exchange for amnesty for his people. Finally, on July 20th, 1917, the World War I draft was held. Secretary Baker, who was blindfolded, drew the first number from a bowl, followed by many other numbers over the course of 16 and a half hours, and every number was a different man. And believe it or not, but on that day, 1.3 million men were called up for the draft. This literally happened on this exact day a little over 100 years ago.
July 20th is an important day in history that we have to mark down then. Some important things went down on that day. Crazy to think about how one day can change the course of history. Man. Edit. Call them out, man. Call them out down below in the comments when you see the edit, guys.
This is actually how World War III starts. I'ma be pissed. South Korea's just held an emergency meeting with their top officials to discuss on how to respond after North Korea flew almost 1,000 balloons carrying bags full of trash and human waste across the border. South Korea's national security director said that they've decided to take unbearable measures against North Korea. And while they didn't specify exactly what those unbearable measures were, some sources say that they will resume their frontline loudspeaker broadcast into North Korea. That includes criticism of their human rights situation, world news, and K-pop songs. Welcome to 2024.
One of the world's scariest animals just got a whole lot scarier. And Planet of the Apes is slowly becoming non-fiction. Because apparently chimpanzees are out here murking gorillas. Scientists in 2021 witnessed a troop of chimpanzees basically jumping a family of gorillas. And when I say gang, we're talking about almost 30 chimps pressing a family of 5. Keep in mind a silverback can weigh up to 400 pounds, could probably bench press your car. And according to witnesses, the silverback was eating chimps left and right like they were paper mache. But eventually the chimps overwhelmed the bigger silverback and even kidnapped a baby gorilla. I'm not going to tell you exactly what they did, but that family of 5 became a party of 4. And it wasn't even the last time. Because later that year, scientists watched the same group of chimpanzees do the same exact thing. Square up with a family of gorillas, kidnapped a baby, and erase its name from the gorilla's census. And it's not like we didn't know chimps were about that. They often hunt bush babies and vervet monkeys, and we've even seen them use weapons like spears to do it. But it's one thing to hunt something that weighs like 5 Skittles. Going gorillas is another tier of Black Air Force activity. Which is why I'd rather be locked in a room with a jaguar than a chimp. Because at least a jaguar gonna make it quick.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. In 1971, Edwin Robinson was in a severe car crash that made him completely blind and partially deaf. 9 years later, he ventured outside his home to rescue his pet chicken from the rain when he was suddenly struck by lightning. But due to the high voltage blast from the lightning strike, he miraculously could see and hear perfectly fine again. During Adam Rayner's early life, he suffered from dwarfism, and at his tallest, he came in at 4.5 feet. But at the age of 21, he developed a tumor on his pituitary gland, which led him to grow to a staggering 7 feet 8 inches within a few years. This made him the only human to ever be classified as both a dwarf and a giant in the same lifetime. Corey Curtis got into a car accident that was so severe he fell into a coma for several days. Thankfully he came out of it, and when he woke up he could magically speak perfect French, even though he had only taken a few French lessons 12 years before the accident.
This is breaking news from around the world that you definitely have not heard of.
Number 3, the IDF says a barrage of 200 rockets have been fired towards Israel from the Gaza Strip, most of which has been intercepted by the Iron Dome. The Israeli military conducted a retaliation strike of roughly 130 targets. Number 2, out-of-control Chinese rocket debris crash lands into the Indian Ocean just west of the Maldives, most of which was destroyed upon re-entry into the lower atmosphere. Number 1, a major pipeline was hacked and shut down by a group called DarkSide, the FBI confirms. They demand ransom, and this stands as a wake-up call for other US companies about major cyber threats into the future.
What the hell? He got us when I'm talking about a major park hack. That's something they must have tried to hit because I didn't see that trending nowhere. It's crazy to think about, man. This type of information we're not even aware of, man. That's what I said. You gotta tap in with us, man. You're gonna learn something. That's crazy. Edit. Call him out when I see him, man. We've been doing this for a minute, man, so we know how to spot him now. If it's an edit, like I said, tell me in the comments down below. I want to see if y'all can spot them too. At least make the edits good.
Scary facts you didn't know. There are at least 10 recorded cases of someone dying from laughter.
Come again?
At some point in time, a stranger has thought of killing you. Selfies are responsible for more deaths every year than sharks.
No.
There's a shack called the Devil's Toy Box in Louisiana, and people who go in there supposedly lose their minds. When a person dies, they have 7 minutes of brain activity left in which they see a dreamlike sequence of their memories.
Oh.
Most serial killers are born in November.
You can only ride this
Damn.
roller coaster once. Julionis, your bonus, designed this roller coaster called the Euthanasia Coaster. It's capable of holding up to 24 passengers.
Ooh.
Once they're all on board, it starts to slowly ascend to the top, which is 1,700 feet in the air. That's just a little bit smaller than the tallest building in America. Once
Hell
they're
no.
at the top, it gives everyone the decision to stop and go back down safely. After that, everyone has to manually press a button to start the ride. Then it falls at a speed of 220 miles per hour and goes through 7 loops that keep getting smaller. It's designed like this so riders maintain 10 G's of force for a full 60 seconds.
Damn.
Everyone's blood would rush to their feet, leaving no blood left in their brain. This causes them to lose their vision and eventually black out and die. It was designed for people with incurable diseases who wanted a fun and unpainful death.
What? What the hell? How's it my first time hearing about that?
Psychological tricks that will change your life. Part 7. If you whisper to somebody, they will whisper back, even if there's no reason to do so. Yo, Dad.
I thought that the French protests were unhinged before, but this might be the single most hilarious way of protesting I have ever seen. As we all know, Paris is hosting the Summer Olympics, but a lot of French people aren't very happy about that. Because, and I only found out about this today, the Olympics is kind of a scam when it comes to a country actually making money. Don't get me wrong, it's great for global street cred, but for example, when China hosted it, they made a net loss of 36.4 billion, and London made a net loss of 13 billion, and that's all taxpayer money. So when the public heard that France has already spent over 5 billion, and then that Macron wanted to spend another billion just to clean up the said river, so it looks good for the Olympics, they lost it, and the I shit in the said river protest began. On the 23rd of June, the French President Macron and the Paris mayor plan to take a ceremonial swim in the river to show off just how clean it is. So the protesters are now planning a defecation flash mob because, and I quote, after putting us in shit, it's up to them to bathe in our shit. Oh, and if you don't live in Paris, no bloody problem, because someone created this website. You type in how many kilometers you are away from Paris, and using a water flow algorithm, it will tell you precisely the day and the exact time you need to fit into the river to reach Paris at the time Macron will be swimming in it. Oh, I told you, and that is why I say here are some Google secrets that you didn't know about. If you type in Google space and click the first result, all of Google will start floating in space, and you can type and mess with all the buttons by throwing them around. If you type in Pac-Man, you can play a Google version of Pac-Man along with other games such as Tic-Tac-Toe, Fun Facts, Minesweeper, Snake, Solitaire, and much more for free. If you type in Thanos and click the Infinity Gauntlet, you will not only make some of the search results disappear, but half of Google will also be snapped out of existence. And if you click it again, everything will be reversed.
I want to talk about the Fallon footage. On the eastern side of Missouri, a tape was recovered from a camera recorder of a missing man in 2002. This photo found in the footage has marked the most chilling mystery to have ever come out of this county. The man is pictured here. His name was Roy Hafer, and he was sort of an amateur investigator. You know, he would go to scenes with recent crimes, places where he could film, and he could sell the footage hopefully to a news station. And on an evening where he ventured to a hot spot where a woman had gone missing just a year prior, he would never make it home from that abandoned house. A police search was conducted by the following morning, as well as a search of the abandoned home and a search of this underpass where a significant amount of blood was was recovered, but his body was not. They would also go on to find his camera recorder, where they would find that final footage. This was the face seen in the last frame of that video footage.
You think you're old? Again, this is the oldest person that ever lived. Her name is Jeanne-Louise Calment of France. She was born in 1875 and passed away in 1997 at the age of 122 years old. She outlived both her daughter and her grandson. Her husband died in 1942.
Whoa. She lived to be at that old? Goes to show you, man. You never know. It's actually crazy.
Men who have bigger noses have been also found to have longer penises, a recent study suggests.
What?
The study looked at the corpses of 126 men within 3 days of death and measured a range of body parts. The length of the men's noses correlated to the size of the penis. And although there was a correlation between nose and penis size, they did not find a reason as to why this might be. So the question is, how big is your nose?
That was weird. What the hell? Calculation, why did I do
These
that?
are the top 3 dreams you should never ignore according to science. Number 1 is dreaming that you're drowning. It's like super common. And it's most commonly felt. This sort of mirrors how you feel overwhelmed in your day-to-day life. But the reason you shouldn't ignore this dream is that it's usually a telltale sign you might have sleep apnea. 2, dreaming that you are being chased. This is believed to be unresolved childhood trauma. It's kind of like you're manifesting that trauma into a physical person who's chasing you in your dream. By the way, I am using the Dream app to define all of these. It's literally the most comprehensive and expert-driven app to analyze your dreams. And the 3rd dream you should never ignore, cutting your hair. It's believed that this is your subconscious being aware that you are about to experience a great loss in your life. It's kind of like your mind is warning you to protect yourself from the instability that's to come. And if you want to find out what your dreams mean to you, you can check the link in my bio and try Dream app.
See, are you guys gonna try out that Dream app, man? Like I said, the dreams that we dream. Hey, you said we can't ignore them, bro. I think that happened. I wonder if I had any dreams like that. I don't think so. Not that I could recall. But hey, man, and like I said, everything we see is a message, man. I guess when we dreaming, it's our brains trying to tell us a message to ourselves. So if you really think about it, man, we're trying to warn ourselves. It's like we have a warning detection system. If you break it down like that. Okay.
This is the scariest story about the mom. One night, there was a 6-year-old girl who woke up in the middle of the night to her mom standing over her bed, staring down at her with a creepy smile on her face. The girl knew something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. The girl then said, "Mom." "Yes," she replied. "What are you doing?" the girl asked. "Watching you sleep," she said. "Why?" said the girl. The mom didn't say anything and kept staring at her, smiling. They each didn't say a word to each other for minutes, but still keeping eye contact with each other. Then the mom began to walk backwards, still staring at the girl with that creepy smile, and then went into the girl's closet and shut the door. The girl then got up and ran to her mom's bedroom and saw her mom asleep in her bed.
What's going on with that mom story? Should we see? Cause y'all gonna check that out? Edit. We're experts at this, man. Now, come on, man. You gotta do better than that. If you're gonna make an edit, you gotta make it good. We've been doing this for a minute now, so we getting better each and every single time. And when these videos plays,
Fun facts that will shock you. Part 1. Happy Birthday to You is the most often sung song in America. Sharks are the only fish that can blink with both eyes. Squirrels can climb trees faster than they can run on the ground.
Oh!
Celebrities who fake their death.
Who's on this list?
Michael Jackson.
That was MJ? way they was just walking across the sheet, but he put his bags up like really close, so we couldn't really get look at his face. If anything, I thought it would be like Tupac Shakur, because you know how people be saying he would just went to a different part of the world. But MJ, Michael Jackson, we believe that? That's kind of a hard one to
Have you
believe.
ever seen a rash that looks like this? It's these little tiny bumps that look like fluid-filled blisters on your hands or feet, and they're
Whoa.
intensely itchy. You may have something called dyshydratic eczema or pomphlix. This rash usually starts in early adulthood, and it often comes in intervals of about every 3 to 4 weeks in response to emotional or physical stress, but the underlying mechanism is poorly understood.
Man.
Some general skincare measures include washing your hands without any jewelry on, using a fragrance-free gentle cleanser to clean your hands, pat dry thoroughly, and then place a heavy cream or ointment on afterwards to help retain some of the moisture, and moisturizing throughout the day. You may also consider wearing a cotton gloves with non-latex gloves over that if you are doing a lot of wet work. If you are struggling with this, it is a good idea to see your physician because they may be able to prescribe you different therapies. Some examples may include high-potency topical steroids, calcineurin inhibitors, JAK inhibitors, and biologics. Let me know if this is something that affects you, and please hit that follow button if you want to learn more about your health.
Well, apparently the adult film star Jessie Jane was found deceased with her boyfriend. Let's find out all about this one, y'all. Shout out to True Crime and Megan. Make sure you give her a follow.
Jessie Jane, an actor of adult films and other movies, has been found deceased. She was 43 years old and her real name was Cindy Taylor. She and her boyfriend Brett Hassenmuller were found deceased in their home in Moore, Oklahoma. According to reports, the Moore Police Department were called to their home on Wednesday to conduct a wellness check. This was after nobody had heard from them for several days, and police were called at about 11 a.m. It was said that Brett's employer reportedly asked for the welfare check after he did not show up for work for several days. She and Brett were found deceased upon police arriving at the home. A medical exam might suspect that any foul play was involved. Jessie was a model for David's Bridal for a while before she was in a Hooters commercial. She then eventually signed a contract with Digital Playground. She made her adult film debut in 2003, and then she started to appear in some outside projects. She was in Baywatch Hawaiian Wedding and Starsky and Hutch. In 2005, she also appeared in season 2 of Entourage. Furthermore, she made appearances in Bad Girls Club and Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, which are both reality TV shows. She retired from the adult film industry in 2017 because she claimed the industry started to change too much and they didn't pay as much money. She was remembered as a vivacious person who loved life, and Brett was remembered as a good guy with an amazing soul. They had been dating for quite some time. She was married to Rich Taylor from 2005.
Drowning theory makes little to no sense. According to an ocean expert who has worked these rip current drowning cases for 30 plus years, he says the body always recovers. Well, today marks 2 weeks and still no sightings of Kanaki. He also says when it comes to these tiger sharks in the area, they're in the deep waters, not near the shoreline. And he said specifically for these sharks to be involved, they smell blood. They look for blood. She would have already have had to been dead or injured when she hit the water. He also says that when it comes to the reefs and corals, it's very unlikely that her body would have made it to the reefs. They're 85 feet out. He said that would be a very remote chance. But he also said that the Dominican Navy has already searched the reef and corals and found no sightings of Kanaki. He also says that when it comes to the shoreline, the way the topography works, the way the waves flow, they come directly in, that her body would have washed up the way that it entered. He says these are very warm waters, so her body would have risen to the surface very fast. Her body would have started to decay and then release these gases, making her float. What are your thoughts about all this? What do you think about this drowning theory? Do you think it's likely she drowned? Or maybe there was foul play? Maybe she was trafficked? Write in the comments below.
Because X died 4 years ago on this very day, let's take a second to remember some of his last words. On June 18th, 2018, X went to an ATM to withdraw some cash. As X started driving away, a black SUV started to follow him all the way to a nearby motorsports shop. So X went inside the shop, and after a few hours, he noticed that the black SUV was still in the parking lot. 2 men hopped out of the SUV and demanded that X give them his car. As X tried to fight back, he was shot in the neck 3 times. Witnesses claim his last words were something like, "What the F is going on?" but his last verified words were these.
I've gone through my fair share of destruction and pain in the process to get where I've gotten, and anything is possible. If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy. Or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life. Your mind is limitless. You are worth more than you could believe. All you have to do is dream, and all you have to do is want to fulfill that dream and have the strength to fulfill that dream.
RP X, man, one of the biggest artists in the world. It's crazy, man. And his music did hit over, like you said, he wanted to hit 5 million kids to get answers, I guess, from what he was doing. And his music definitely impacted a lot of people, man, including me. So RPX, man, one of the greatest artists.
Terrifying things found in abandoned places. A YouTuber by the name of Urbex Hill was exploring an abandoned school when he soon realizes that he wasn't alone. Just watch this clip and be warned.
What the hell?
There was a man living inside of the abandoned school. What would you do if you stumbled upon a man living inside of an abandoned school? Follow for more videos.
I'm doing exactly what he did.
Paranormal. Whether you answer yes or no, it is true that some things just cannot be explained. This photo to me is one of those unexplainable things. Now this was taken at a wedding in Paisley, Scotland all the way back in 1972, and from the looks of it, all seems relatively normal. It was 37 years before anyone spotted the extra guest in the photo. When zoomed in, you can see a man's eye peeking from behind, as well as a full leg and a foot which appears to be in an open-toed sandal. Now, none of the 4 present in the photo can explain this and claim that no one else was there. Even the wedding photographer vouched that there was nobody else in the photo. Now, allegedly, this photo was examined by a police photographer who claims it to be genuine, meaning it was not tampered with. Now, the man on the far left even claims that he visited a medium in Glasgow, Scotland, who claimed he would receive such a photo. So what do you think? Was maybe a child hiding behind them? Did somebody edit the photo? Or maybe it's just an object that is all playing a trick on our eyes?
Facts that could save your life. To survive a falling elevator, your best bet is to cover your face and lie flat on your back. Hitting the ground in this position spreads the force of the impact evenly across your body, and your face is protected against debris. If you see a tornado that's not moving, run, because it is coming right towards you. Tornadoes are so big that you can't tell right away when they come straight at you. If you are in a foreign land and need to call emergency services, don't call 911. 112 is the emergency telephone number for most countries. It will connect from a cell phone to just about anywhere you are on the planet. Most drunk driving collisions occur on Saturdays and Sundays during the late hours of the night. If you can avoid the roads during these times, do it.
Okay. I heard about the 112 when you're in different foreign countries. I think I got a comment like a couple of weeks ago. I was saying it was something like 919 in the United Kingdom or something like that. So it's like it varies, I guess, with different countries. It's not 112 everywhere. You're learning. Just a little fun fact I just wanted to tell you guys, man. Need that when I go traveling one day.
There are very few things that are creepier than abandoned amusement parks, but this one, it definitely takes the cake. It's called Pripyat, and it's in the Ukraine, and it was only working for about a month before it had to completely shut down because of Chernobyl. Which, if you don't know what Chernobyl is, look that up on its own. I may make a video of it eventually, but it is terrifying. And I am not recommending anybody go to this abandoned place. Please don't. Safety warning. But even if there was no radiation in the air, I would not go anywhere near this thing. It is so absolutely terrifyingly creepy. Like, imagine it at night. Imagine it in the pitch dark, which that's something that scares the heck out of me, and I'll just be sitting there and thinking about, at like 2 in the morning, thinking about the Six Flags that's very, very close to me, and imagining it in the pitch dark, and the roller coasters in the pitch dark, and I freak myself out. These abandoned rides and that gosh darn Ferris wheel that I hate, abandoned amusement park rides with rust on them, freak me out, and I don't know why. I always imagine them underwater, and I just, why do I like to scare myself? Oh, and you see these buildings up here? Yes, one of them is an abandoned hospital, in case you were wondering, and it's also presumed haunted. Of course. So if it was legal and if it was safe, would you go anywhere near this abandoned place? I absolutely would not. Have you all heard of the gigantic animatronic head in Japan in a bathroom that kisses your knees while you use the toilet?
No.
Let's talk about it. In the Shinjuku area, there is a animatronic sumo wrestler head that sings to you, and the animatronic head gets closer and closer and closer to you while you're using the toilet until it's like kissing your knees. Why? Who designed? Why? I'm going to show you a video of it singing and moving closer, but this is a lady's knees, and seriously, why? Not to mention the absolute megalophobia of that gigantic animatronic in front of me. I would not be able to look at it. I would be so terrified, but the fact that it gets closer to you, even if it was just regular, like if it was just in a regular room, but why? I would literally be using this toilet like crazy if I saw this, you know what I mean? Also, bro looks extremely sinister.
You do.
Watch this video and let me know what you think and what's going on.
So here we are. So when everyone and this music starts. Everything just as you move towards you.
Here are some
Somebody was on something, man, when they was designing that, bro. Who came up with the idea, like, yeah, we're gonna have a big face stare at you, man, when you taking a dump. And you know what? We're gonna make it move toward you, bro. Make it move towards your legs. That's what somebody wants in the bathroom, man. We cracked the design right there. They were not thinking, bro.
accidents that changed the world forever. A scientist was testing gases for a refrigerant, but instead he created the chemicals that would one day fuel nerve agents, which are some of the deadliest chemical weapons in the world. A hospital accidentally exposed higher radiation levels than intended to a cancer patient, but in doing so, they discovered that precise controlled radiation could shrink tumors and become a revolutionary cancer treatment. A medieval monk trying to make a simple drink left a pot of grapes fermenting too long and accidentally created champagne. A clockmaker in the 1700s miscalculated a gear system, but instead of fixing it, he realized the mistake created a perfect timekeeping mechanism, leading to modern clocks. An engineer was supposed to build a stronger adhesive for bridges, but instead he accidentally invented the formula for the first bubblegum. A pilot in World War II got lost in fog, crashed his plane, and accidentally inspired the invention of air traffic control. A frustrated researcher trying to find a cure for stomach ulcers accidentally discovered the compound that would later become Viagra. A scientist studying rubber noticed that a cracked vial had absorbed moisture in a weird way, accidentally leading to the invention of modern diapers. A medieval apothecary trying to make a healing tonic accidentally set off a small explosion and unknowingly created the first version of gunpowder. A shipbuilder in the 1800s miscalculated the weight balance of a new design, and that mistake directly led to the invention of the modern keel.
Here's why you might want to check under your bed for monsters tonight. In 1991, a music executive named Christopher Case was found fully clothed laying in his bathtub in the fetal position. The cops checked, and he had no pulse. The police called Christopher's best friend Sammy to see if she knew anything about the death, and she started to recount a grimacing call she had had with him just the night before he died. The night before, he had woken up to someone speaking under his bed. So he bent down and looked under his bed to see a dark figure. He was paralyzed in fear, couldn't move as this dark figure became fully standing up. The figure reached down and strangled Christopher until he was knocked out. The next morning, when Christopher woke up, he felt his neck and it was all battered, and his fingers were covered in blood. As he's explaining this crazy story to Sammy on the phone, he explains how he's so terrified to go to sleep that night. And then he says, "Hold on, I hear whispering right outside my bedroom door." And that's when the phone went dead.
Oh man, I gotta find part 2. Check under the beds tonight, man.
Which of these facts is the hardest to believe? Our fingers get wrinkly in water because wrinkly fingers give a stronger grip on slippery objects underwater. Dolphins can drown if they stay underwater for too long or if water enters their lungs. The largest muscle in your body is the one you are currently sitting on. In 2013, a man bought a house next door to his wife just so he could install a giant middle finger statue facing her house.
The statue even lit up at night. Now, would you rather go back to your ex or this the second person that comes up when you click share and then WhatsApp? Babies can only see white or black in the first month of their birth. Your keyboard knows the last thing you eat. Type I eat and let your keyboard finish the sentence. About 1/6 of the entire world's living languages are only spoken in UK. In the UK, you can join the army at 16 but legally have to be up to 18 years old to play Call of Duty. Fourth one.
I think the one where I guess husband bought the house next to his ex-wife or something, put that statue up. People are petty like that, man. I can believe that one, bro. I believe that one, man. You know what this is, man.
Top 3 police officers who actually encountered demons. A police officer named Jake said that he was driving around one night and observed a vehicle parked alone in the middle of a church parking lot. This was at night, so he figured that maybe it was some college kids or something. So he pulled up to the car from the side, only to see that there was no one inside. He said that he then positioned his car behind it so he could run the license plate. He thought that maybe someone had stole it and dumped it in the parking lot. So he started to run the plate and he looked at the car through the back window. And then he said that he swears that he saw a person in the front seat looking at him through the rear view mirror. He said that this is something that you notice as a cop, because when you do traffic stops, you can tell how intently someone is watching you inside your car and possibly if they are going to try something. So he says that he got an oh crap moment of, I didn't see there was anyone in the car. He drove directly up next to it to reassure himself of what he saw, and there was no one inside the car. He said that chills immediately ran down his spine and that he got the heck out of there. The car was later gone and he doesn't know what happened. He said that he doesn't know exactly what he saw, but it freaked him out. Him and his partners used to sit in that church parking lot on quiet nights because it was tucked away and you could just relax, but he has not sat there since.
This is the scary story about the old television. A few years ago in a small town in Spain, there was a married couple who had a 6-year-old boy. There was an old television in their son's bedroom, and every night when he went to bed, he insisted on covering the TV with a blanket. His parents noticed this, and they then asked him, "Son, why do you always cover the TV at night?" The boy gave them a weird look and then replied scared. He said because that's how they get in. The parents dismissed this and thought nothing of it. One night the parents went out. When the parents returned home that night, it was well past midnight. To their surprise, they saw the babysitter crying on the staircase out loud. When they asked the babysitter what happened, she looked up at them with fear in her eyes and said, "They took him." The parents ran upstairs, and when they got to their boy's bedroom, they were horrified. Their son was nowhere to be found, and there was a trail of blood leading to the television.
So he was telling the truth.
The woman behind me was boiled alive at a caramel factory that she worked at. In 2017, Natalia Nemitz was working at a caramel factory in Russia. She was cleaning up the tank when all of this molten caramel started rushing in. Not only did it drown her, it boiled her alive, and nobody could do anything to watch her burn. At the end of it, only her legs were sticking up. I assume that all of her body was dissolved or down to the bone at that point. This factory has a history of tragic accidents. She was the 3rd person that year to lose her life. And in typical corporate fashion, they threatened to fire anyone that came forward with information about Natalia's death to the public. I'm just so glad the Labor Commission decided to investigate her death. The company tried to hide it and said she fell into the tank. One theory suggests that the high temperature in the room made her faint and fall into the tank. Another story said she stumbled down and fell into the tank, but neither of those are true. The eyewitness accounts that did get out said she was inside of the tank cleaning it, nothing was in there, and then everything just came gushing in. Unfortunately, she left behind a 10-year-old son, but luckily the son can stay with her sister. Let me know what you guys think about the story in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Man, these factory jobs, they're truly dangerous, man. Watching these clips together with you guys, that's the conclusion I came with. These factory jobs, man, stay away from them if you can. And these companies will do anything to try to save a buck. It's crazy.
Today I googled what is the longest time someone has spent in a coma and then woken up. So in at number 5 is Terry Wallace. Now Terry went into a coma when he was only 20 years old when he suffered a major car accident where his pickup truck skidded off of a bridge. 19 years later when he awoke from his minimally conscious state, he believed that he was still 20 years old and that it was still 1984. Number 4 on the list is Jan Grzebski. Now this one is pretty savage because Jan was a railroad worker who fell into a coma after being hit by one of the rail cars. Now what's savage about this story is that he spent 19 years in the coma and miraculously woke up, but only 2 years later he died from a heart attack. In third place is Sarah Scantlein. Now Sarah was put into a comatose state when she was just 18 years old when she was hit by a drunk driver as she walked through a parking lot, and she remained in a coma for 20 years. Sarah's dad recalls the day that she woke up saying, "Suddenly, the phone rings one day, and then she said hello, and I just went numb." Number 2 on the list is Rom Hubin. Now, Rom's experience is probably the most terrifying thing that could happen to a person because, unlike all the others on the list, for 23 years, the doctors didn't realize that his brain was actually active, meaning that for 23 years, he saw his doctors and nurses as they visited him during their daily rounds. He listened to the conversations of his carers. He heard his mother deliver the news to him that his father had died, but he could do nothing. He was unable to communicate with his doctors or his family. He could not move his head. He couldn't cry. He could only listen. Once they discovered that his brain was actually active, a scientist developed a special technology that now enables him to communicate with the world. So in at number 1, and the longest time someone has spent in a coma and then woken up, goes to Annie Shapiro. Now Annie went into a coma at age 50 for nearly 30 years, and then suddenly woke again at age 79. When she woke, she was devastated by her appearance and the way that the world had changed. She said, "When I went to sleep, I was a darn good-looking woman, but now in the mirror, all I see is an old lady with bags around her eyes, wrinkles, and gray hair." She couldn't believe that her husband, Martin, was an 81-year-old man and that her teenage son and 25-year-old daughter were now both middle-aged. She was awestruck to learn about cordless telephones and spaceship flights.
Imagine waking up like that, man. The whole world changed. It's kind of like that's breaking your whole reality, man. In one time, you wake up, it's a completely different one, man. Mind blowing.
This judge gave Walmart shoppers a very unusual sentence. Let me explain. This here is Jeffrey, and he became a judge in Michigan in January. And he was shocked to see the huge number of retail thefts in Michigan. So much so that he was working through about 48 cases per day. But since most of these cases were just misdemeanors, Jeffrey didn't think that these people deserved to be behind bars. Instead, he ordered them to community service, with the service being to wash the cars in the Walmart parking lot, the same place that most of these people stole from.
They are going to give a free car wash to the people that think it's a good idea to go there and steal.
Now, Jeffrey thinks this is justified because he doesn't think they're bad people, but there should be consequences for their actions. And what better way to hold them accountable than to wash strangers' cars with the chance of running into somebody that they know. And the Walmart backs up this idea. Not only that, but Jeffrey said he'll even show up to help them out. So I guess they'll all have a fun bonding day together.
This
That's
girl's
crazy.
life was taken by her lover after telling his wife about their affair. This is 20-year-old Kanaya Brenson, and she was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Kanaya was described as a joy to be around, and she could make you smile right away. She wanted to become a vet or a orthodontist, but later on she discovered that she was actually good at making people feel pretty, and she enrolled in beauty school. This is 53-year-old Sultan Sharif, and him and Kanaya had formed a romantic relationship. The thing is, he was already married. Kanaya ended up reaching out to Sultan's wife, and she gave her all the information about their affair and all the necessary details that she needed to know. Obviously, Sultan was not happy about this, so he actually reached out to Kanaya's mother, basically told her, "I'm done messing with your daughter, but she keeps reaching out to my wife." I'm also not sure if Kanaya's mother knew about the relationship or if this is how she found out. On September 24th of 2022, a friend of Sultan had called 911 after seeing Sultan on top of Kanaya in his car, and Kanaya was just screaming, pleading for help, and she was just saying, "He cut my throat." Police had arrived to the area where this was happening, and of course, once they got there, Sultan was gone and his car was gone as well. Eventually, police were called to an alley where they found Kanaya's body, and she had been tied, shot, and set on fire. Police began interviewing people, including Sultan's wife, and she stated that, oh no, it couldn't have been him because she was with him that day. But later, police discovered that she was actually lying, and they had a video surveillance to back that up.
4K.
Sultan's brother-in-law, Johnny Allen Hopgood, was charged as an accomplice. Johnny was charged with mutilating a corpse, and his bond was set at $50,000. Sultan was charged with first-degree murder and mutilating a body, and his bond is set at $500,000.
So he basically got mad that she exposed them, and he took it out on her because he couldn't deal with the consequences of his actions. Most dangerous people in the world, man, who can't take accountability for themselves. Chilling story.
These are the Skelton brothers, and they have been missing since November 26th, 2010. And this month, a judge has officially declared them no longer alive. Andrew Alexander and Tanner Skelton, who were 9, 7, and 5, spent Thanksgiving 2010 with their father, John, in Morenci, Michigan. Their mother, Tanya Zubers, was supposed to pick them up from her ex-husband the next day. However, Tanya stopped hearing from John, so she went to his house and found his van in the driveway. Tanya explained that John kept giving her different excuses until he finally said he was at the hospital and the boys were with a friend he had recently met on the internet. He was reportedly at the hospital because he had broken his ankle, telling hospital workers that he did so. Knowing where her sons were, Tanya called the police and asked them to go to John Skelton's home. Officers went and searched the home and reportedly found broken dishes, cut-up mattresses, and the house in disarray, but no sign of the 3 young boys. And while at the hospital, John changed his story several times about where the boys were. First, he said they were with friends, and then he said they were given to an unknown woman. He also at one point told police that he had given the boys to an underground group that would, quote, protect them from Tanya's abuse. But none of these stories were true, none of these people could be located, and the boys were missing. As police looked into what happened to the 3 Skelton boys, they found John's phone records. The records placed him in Michigan early on November 26th, and then placed him in Ohio with his phone pinging about 20 miles away from his home. His phone was then shut off and then pinged back in Michigan about 2 hours and 15 minutes after he left. Several areas in Michigan and Ohio have been searched for Andrew Alexander and Tanner, but they have never been found. John Skelton hasn't told anyone where they are, or even if they are still alive, aside from his stories of giving them to unknown people. According to Tanya, John previously claimed that the boys would hibernate until they graduate, but all 3 boys are now old enough that they would have graduated from high school. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Thanksgiving 2010 wasn't the first time John Skelton took the boys away from Tanya. He was accused of taking the boys out of school 2 months earlier, and it is alleged that he said he was taking them on a trip to Florida where his parents live. He was ultimately sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison for unlawful imprisonment after pleading no contest to the charges. He's currently in prison serving time for those charges at the Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility in Iona, Michigan. But he has not been charged with anything in connection to the disappearance of his sons. After searching for her sons for almost 15 years and fighting for justice for them, Tanya Zubers made the difficult decision at the end of last year to request that the court officially declare them dead. In Michigan, a person is typically considered to be dead after they have been missing for 5 years, and the boys have been missing for 14. Tanya said of this, quote, "The decision came after much thought and discussion with my family and friends. It did not come lightly and was definitely a difficult decision to make. No parent wants to lose a child, but to have the court step in and declare them deceased is just unfathomable." But she did so, and earlier this month, the judge officially declared Andrew Alexander and Tanner Skelton dead. The judge reportedly said she could not rule that the boys had been murdered, though. Andrew Alexander and Tanner would be 23, 21, and 19 today. While they've officially been declared dead in the state of Michigan, they might still be out there somewhere, especially if their father did give them to some underground group. But something happened to these poor young boys, and they have never seen justice for what happened. Rest in peace, Andrew Alexander and Tanner.
incest charges, and she told Stephen that she did not want to continue this father-daughter incest relationship. Stephen's attorney maintained that the relationship with him and Katie was consensual. He asserted that Stephen was head over heels in love with his daughter, and that outweighed the fact that they were biologically related. On April 11, 2018, Stephen murdered his 7-month-old child Bennett, and he was believed to have been suffocated to death. The next day, Katie and Anthony Fusco traveled from New York to Connecticut to visit with Katie's grandmother. Stephen knew that this was a regular routine for Katie, so he followed their vehicle. He murdered them with an Arrow assault-type rifle, which is similar to an AR-15. Stephen then called his mother and confessed to her that he had killed Katie, Anthony, and Bennett. In New York, Stephen's mother called the police, and they found Bennett dead in Stephen's home. Bystanders reported shots fired in New Milford, and authorities found Katie and Anthony's bodies in the car. The 3 victims were buried in St. Charles Cemetery in New York. After the killing, Stephen's attorney maintained that nobody could have ever predicted that these killings would happen, and that he never showed any signs of turning to violence. Yeah, that's the end of the story, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. That was definitely a pretty wild one.
Dark and
Caution
tragic
before
case.
I actually show you this picture because this story is true. This is the police sketch of who has been named as the Cape Intruder. All of this dates back to 2005 in Cape Elizabeth, Maine, where there was a person who looks like this, who was reportedly breaking into people's homes and watching them sleep. Like, people described that they would wake up right in the early mornings, and the first thing they would see was this man standing in their room, and the second they saw him, he would just bolt, like run out of the house. He never killed anybody, he never stole anything, he just like watched people. And the last recorded break-in was around February 2006 when he suddenly seemed to stop, and they never caught this guy. What's ironic and kind of disturbing about the photo is that he is a watcher, and it almost feels like when you're looking at it, he's watching you. And as always, if you're loving Creep Time, make sure to go follow on Insta.
Could you guys imagine just waking up and seeing somebody like stare at you? That would be one of the most bizarre things I ever saw. It's creepy and eerie, bro. And they never caught him. He just likes to stare at people sleep. Wow, that's some stalkerish behavior. We have to check that out.
You won't believe this little boy actually exists. This boy, Nanyo Sweet from China, was born with glowing eyes. People were curious why his eyes glow blue, so they ran a test on him. They put him in pitch black with cards and a note, and he read them perfectly.
Ooh.
His eyes seem to have a genetic ability of cats and other nocturnal animals. Scientists have been a little skeptical, but people say he can see in full darkness perfectly, like a superhero.
This is the story.
What the hell? So he got a genetic mutation that lets him allow him to see in the dark? First speaking recorded human with powers? Whoa, or we just evolving? What do you guys think on that one?
Of the woman who walked in on her own funeral. In 2015, an Australian woman named Noella Recondo was coaxed over the phone by her husband into leaving her hotel room. But when she left, she was met with 2 men who kidnapped her and were hired to kill her. But almost immediately, the 2 men are starting to humanize her. They're asking her questions about her life. They're asking her why her husband put a hit on her. Somehow, she convinces them just to keep the money and to set her free. Meanwhile, days have already passed, and the husband's told everybody that she died in some tragic accident and he's going to be holding a funeral service. But she had details on that service. So following the funeral, everybody convenes over to the reception to continue mourning. That is until she walks through the front door. The entire room is stunned, and the husband was in such disbelief, he thought he was hallucinating. Everything comes out. He's arrested, he confesses, and the rare story of her revenge return is one that Australia remembered.
You're not gonna believe what this woman caught on her camera.
Whoa.
Now it's scary because was this girl actually being kidnapped? But what's scary is that this is a common thing that criminals will do. They have one person playing the victim, screaming for help. You run out to go help them, and instead, they kidnap you. It's scary because you don't know if she actually needed help. Stay safe out there, folks.
They faking
This
that
is
now?
the disappearance of Sher Horowitz. Viewer discretion is totally advised. Sher Horowitz was a virgin who couldn't drive, and she disappeared on February 8th, 1995 outside of Los Angeles, California. Last seen at a Val party playing Suck and Blow. She was last seen being offered a ride by friend Elton, and was never seen again. Police searched Sun Valley and could only come up with one clue. A liquor store employee alleged that they saw a young blonde being held up at Pew Pew Point. What happened next may astound you. The woman apparently refused to do what the Pew Pew man wanted because she was wearing an alaya, which is like a totally important designer. Not having much to go off of, police were at a dead end, which left them totally bugging. And to this day, this case remains a bigger disaster than Malibu. So what do you think happened to Cher? Does Cher's arch nemesis, Amber, have something to do with it? Who from far away was okay, but up close was a total disaster? Maybe she ran off to marry her brother, and maybe somewhere where it's more acceptable, like Kentucky, or anywhere north of Sunset Boulevard. Why was some cheap hair extension in the back of Murray's car? Dee does not wear polyester hair, unlike some people she knows like Shawana. Or was it something else? As if.
Is that based off a show or movie or something like that? That's the vibe I was getting.
The world's worst job, otherwise known as Sheen or Sheen, however you pronounce it.
Ooh.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and let's get right into this. Recently, I've heard a lot of rumors about how bad the Sheen workers are treated each day, and honestly, nothing could have prepared me for what I learned. This all started in June of 2022 when a viral TikTok displayed articles of Sheen clothing with handwritten messages stating, "Need your help." According to Brightly.eco, they state that the average Sheen worker works 7 days a week in 18-hour shifts. They even found that some of the workers were seen washing their own hair while they were at work just to keep up with their personal hygiene. Not only do they work a lot, but they also make a base salary of $556 a month to make 500 articles of clothing each day. Let me know what you guys think.
That's criminal, bro. They doing all that work and getting paid that little with the work conditions, man. Goes to show you how we have to appreciate like the shirts and pants and things we wear because people be going through, I guess, hell making these for us. You better working conditions.
These girls were in a carnival gang. The strange thing is that there were only 3. Although from people appear in the video. Wait. The girl in the back never
And you hear a mysterious recording of a baby crying or a child calling for help, lock your door. I have like 5 minutes to do my makeup. So more and more people in Pittsburgh are complaining about hearing babies crying outside of their windows at night, as was the case with Olivia Bennington last week. Her sister claimed that Olivia would wake up every night at 3 a.m. claiming that there was a baby wailing outside of her window. But her sister never heard anything and honestly felt like Olivia was going crazy. Then one day, Olivia's sister came home to find Olivia packing an overnight bag. Olivia said she had to leave. There was something outside of her window tormenting her. If it wasn't a baby, then she had no idea what it was, but it felt like it was something evil. Olivia couldn't stop her sister from leaving. And she's the 5th person this month to go missing after having similar complaints.
So what do you guys think happened, Seekers? We saw in another clip how we said how people sometimes they be faking like, I guess, needing help, just, I guess, draw you in and try to get you. It's like, man, you can't even be trying to genuinely actually trying to help people now because they trying to turn it around and try to kidnap you. This world, man.
These 4 men wreaked havoc on Australia in the 90s, and you will not believe how they got caught. They're known as the Snowtown Killers, and the shorter guy in the middle is John Bunting. He's the man behind this vicious murder spree and convinced a few of his friends to help him kidnap people with disabilities so they could claim their disability checks from the government. John loved to torture these people while playing recordings of his previous victims screaming for help. He would even stare into the eyes of his victims while one of the other men strangled them. He would tell them to stop just before they died, letting them recover briefly before repeating the process over again. Eventually, John would just murder them and pack their bodies into plastic barrels which he would store in an abandoned bank. However, he had no sense of smell, and the stench of the barrels was so bad that neighbors reported him, which led to his eventual capture. John Bunting was then taken to court where he received 11 consecutive life sentences.
Yes, that's a really good point.
Very
so if you look at this image here, this is her. She was 16 a couple years ago when she was on the Dr. Phil show. And in the bottom, that was her when she was staying with the Barnetts, if I'm not mistaken. She was around 6. I mean, there's a huge distinction in the age here and how she's grown. Let's play a clip of the Dr. Phil episode and a couple things that she was saying.
And she never lied about her age. They claim that they did bone scans and all that. I don't remember going through a bone scan. I remember going through a bone scan in Michigan. And the bone scan in Michigan said she was 14.
The other thing that I also question is, like, they have been living with Natalia for about 8 years now, this family. Wouldn't they have noticed the aggression and all of that the last family was claiming? Now, I will say one of the things that I guess was a good question that Dr. Phil asked is how was it that she was able to stay by herself in an apartment by herself for so long? I mean, that is a tough thing, but like if there are children who have been left out in the wild and have survived and been raised by wild animals, or neglected children that have been left abandoned for several days and months, I don't know. I feel like some things can be unfortunately possible.
Oh. That was an insane case with
This
twists and
is
turns.
Jocelyn Wildenstein. Some of you may know her as Catwoman. That is what tabloids in the US like to refer to her as.
Huh?
Jocelyn was born in Switzerland in the 1940s. She had a very normal middle-class upbringing. She had no kind of extravagant wealth of any kind. In fact, her father worked at a struggling sporting goods store while she was growing up. But at the age of 17, Jocelyn's very humble life would turn into something that was much, much more extravagant. Jocelyn began dating a Swiss film producer, and the two eventually ended up moving to Paris together. Their relationship eventually ended up fizzling out, and Jocelyn began dating a European film producer. Jocelyn and this European filmmaker were in a relationship for a total of 5 years, and they spent the majority of their relationship exploring Africa together. Jocelyn often would describe Africa as a paradise on earth. Due to the social ladder that Jocelyn had climbed in her two very high-profile relationships, she found herself in very elite circles of people. At one point, Jocelyn was on a safari in Kenya, where she crossed paths with billionaire Alec Wildenstein. Alec came from a family who were big cat enthusiasts, they were horse racing experts, and they were very high-profile art collectors. There was an instant connection between Alec and Jocelyn, and within a year of meeting, they were exchanging vows in a little chapel in Las Vegas. The couple would later go on to have 2 children together. Within a year of their marriage, Jocelyn began spending copious amounts of money on cosmetic procedures. Initially, Alec and Jocelyn both received his and her eyelid lift surgeries. But after that initial procedure, Jocelyn decided she wanted to continue receiving procedures to make her appearance seem more feline. Jocelyn believed that her looking more feline would please her husband, as he had a really big love for large cats. The couple also had a pet lynx together, and they both believed that the lynx had the most beautiful eyes, and she used the lynx as her inspiration for how she wanted to look. Just while married to Alec, Jocelyn spent a total of $2 million on cosmetic procedures.
Damn.
Alec told Jocelyn many, many times she needed to stop receiving procedures and altering her appearance, but Jocelyn refused. In 1997, Jocelyn walked in on her husband in bed with a 21-year-old Russian model. This led to a DV altercation, which resulted in Alec pulling a weapon on Jocelyn. Alec was arrested for this and subsequently spent the night in jail for this, and as soon as he got out, he filed for divorce again.
Dirty facts about history.
So she wanted to become a cat, and she spent over $2 million doing it. And it didn't end up working. Tragic.
That school probably didn't teach you. Part 20. Before she married Ronald, Nancy Reagan was known around Hollywood for her oral abilities, therefore making her a certified throat goat. Queen Victoria really loved doing the deed with her husband, Prince Albert. Like, really loved doing it. To the point where it was audible through doors and walls several times daily. After the Founding Fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, they went frat boy mode and racked up a pretty impressive bar tab. A bottle of whiskey, 2 bottles of wine, and 7 to 10 beers per founding father.
Damn.
George Washington in particular was known as the 3-bottle man, meaning he could drink 3 entire fifths of whiskey without blacking out. The guy who invented sea monkeys was a white supremacist, so if you ever bought this bullshit...
Like this makes me so paranoid. October 1941, Denver, Colorado. Philip Peters was an old man living alone because his wife was in the hospital. She was recovering from a broken hip. So to help out, some of his neighbors made dinner for him every night. It got him out of the house, he could socialize, but then one night Philip did not show up for dinner. They were concerned, so they went to his house. The lights were off, the doors were locked, and something felt wrong. So they called the cops. That's when they found his body. He was on the kitchen floor, and he had been bludgeoned with multiple objects over 30 times. There were no leads, nothing was stolen, it was bizarre. People liked Philip. Like, who would want to do that to him? So in February of 1942, Mrs. Peters was finally discharged from the hospital. She got to go home, and I can't imagine how she felt about that, but anyway. Not long after, she had another accident and had to go back to the hospital, where she stayed until April. And of course she could not live independently, so she had a live-in nurse. Well, actually she had a few, because each one would quit in a matter of days. One of these nurses quit after she saw a bony hand go across the doorframe. At night, the nurses and Mrs. Peters would hear footsteps, voices, rattling. So Mrs. Peters cut her losses and moved out west to live with her son. Now the house was vacant, but neighbors kept seeing lights in the house, and a pale face looking out the window. People were terrified. With every sighting, the cops were called, but they found nothing. This was a regular thing until July of 1942. But in July, the cops were called again. They entered the house and they followed noises into the hallway. When they opened the closet door, they saw a human leg. It was going up into a small opening in the ceiling. Somebody was squeezing themselves into this itty-bitty crawl space. So they pulled on the leg, and down came Theodore Edward Conies. He was 60 years old, 5'10", and weighed 75 pounds. He admitted that he had been squatting in the house from September of 1941 to July of 1942. So it turns out, last September, when Philip went to go visit his wife in the hospital, Theodore just let himself in. Why? Because the door was unlocked. Philip unknowingly lived with Theodore for 5 weeks. But then one night, Philip caught him sneaking food out of the fridge. So he panicked, and basically just beat Philip with anything that he could find. Theodore later said that initially he would remain still in the crawl space when Philip was awake, but eventually started to follow him room to room, because it gave him a thrill. Plot twist, it turns out these guys knew each other. 30 years ago, Theodore was a drifter with numerous health issues. Most people passed him by, but Philip was one of the few people that was kind to him. Again, 30 years prior. Theodore went all over the country, but when he found himself back in Denver, he was going to pay Philip a visit and ask him for some help. But instead, he found a warm house with an unlocked door. One of the investigating police officers said, and I quote, "A man would have to be a spider to stand it long up there." Up here. And that's why Theodore Edward Conies is known as the Denver Spider-Man. I'm doing spooky stories all month, so don't...
Have you guys heard...
Denver Spider-Man, bro. That's actually insane to think that a person could live that long and you have no idea. How do people like that even do that? You living in a house with somebody else, man, sneaking in and you staying that undetected for that long?
Heard the new movie coming out called Lanier? It's based on the true events that happened at Lake Lanier in Georgia. But have any of you ever heard what actually happened at the real Lake Lanier? First of all, there's been tons of mysterious disappearances involving this lake. There have been numerous reports of people vanishing while swimming, boating, or even just walking around the lake's shores. Some people have gone missing under seemingly normal circumstances, but left no evidence behind or any trace of them whatsoever. There are also many stories of supernatural occurrences. Many believe that this lake is haunted with ghostly apparitions, phantom ships, and even eerie sounds across the water. Some accounts even describe occurrences with spirits or entities underneath the water's surface. There have also been reports of strange lights or orbs moving across the water's surface at night. And a lot of people who have visited this lake say that they feel like they're being watched. There are also apparently sunken ghost towns under the water. So Lake Lanier is actually man-made. And when it was created, several towns and communities were submerged under the water. And the remnants of these towns and communities can actually still be found under its waters. A lot of people have reported feeling an extreme sense of unease while exploring these underwater ruins. Lake Lanier also has a long history of accidents and tragedies. Numerous drownings, boat collisions, and fatal injuries have happened at this lake. This movie sounds like it's going to be a creepy one. Have any of you ever heard any more stories about Lake Lanier? And if so, please comment them.
People keep going. It's like they test.
He was in prison, and you won't believe what he did. In 2022, Noah Nay shot a 5-year-old girl in the neck and shoulder in Oklahoma. This teen, who I swear looks like a 9-year-old, was riding in a stolen car and purposely shot inside a home where the little girl was playing. But again, this was no accident. No one did this for a gang initiation. Luckily, the little girl survived, but had the bullet hit a spot an inch away, she would have definitely died. Noah was arrested, but not long after, he escaped the juvenile detention center by jumping a fence. He was found 4 days later, but when he was put back into the detention center, he repeatedly assaulted staff. Noah was sentenced as an adult, but the judge said that in 2028, his sentence can be reduced if he's proved that he's changed.
Imagine getting stood up for a day and it causes you to become a key part of a murder trial. It was 2012 in Kentucky and Shayna Hoopers was 21 years old. She had just graduated from the University of Kentucky and was dating 29-year-old Ryan Poston. Ryan was an attorney and the pair was said to be very toxic. They'd been together for about a year and a half but were very on and off. On the night of October the 12th, things would end for good. Those close to Ryan knew he wasn't happy. He tried ending things with Shayna multiple times, but she refused to accept this. She would turn up to his house, refuse to leave, and they would end up getting back together.
Toxic.
On the 12th of October, the pair were having food at Ryan's parents' house, and they would end up in another argument. Ryan decided to end things once and for all, and to prove to Shayna that he was over her, he decided to go on a date with another woman the next night.
Oh.
The woman was the stunning Audrey Bolt, who was the current Miss Ohio. Audrey and Ryan had arranged to go to a bar the night after at 9:30 p.m. Audrey was really looking forward to it and was very confused when he never showed up. Meanwhile, Shayna had turned up to Ryan's house again without warning. After another massive argument, she took one of his guns and shot him 6 times. She then decided to call police to confess. Now, while she was being interviewed by police, she was acting incredibly bizarre. She twirled around the room and sang, "I did it, yeah, I killed him." She also sang Amazing Grace. Shayna tried to claim that she acted in self-defense, but she was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Audrey had to testify in the murder trial. However, in August 2016, Shayna was actually granted a new trial. This was because it was revealed that one of the original jurors was actually a felon. She was again found guilty though in her retrial and was sentenced to life.
The baby-faced...
Man, that's just a sign. If you guys are in a toxic relationship, man, just try to end it all because it can turn into something even worse, man.
Gangster that shot a little girl in the neck has been jailed for 50 years after a court heard that he knows the difference between right and wrong, but has no amenability to treatment. Noah Nay was sentenced as an adult for the 2022 shooting that saw the teen drive a stolen car and fire a gun towards the house in which the little girl was playing, hitting her in the neck and shoulder. It has been reported that his actions were part of the requirements for a gang initiation.
An American couple married for 75 years. They had one wish in common. A wish that shocked everyone. Jeanette, 96, and Alexander, 95. They started dating at the age of 8, were officially married in 1940, and live in San Diego, Calif. They have 5 sons and daughters and 16 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Some time ago, Alexander suffered an accidental fall that fractured his hip, and he was confined to his bed at home. He used a special bed. It was placed next to his wife Janet's bed. Soon after, Alexander lost interest in life and became weak. On this day, June 29th, Alexander lay in Janet's arms. The daughter informed her mother that her father had died. Janet said sadly, with tears in her eyes, "This is your wish, to pass away in my arms. I love you. Wait for me. Soon we will meet again." Surprisingly, what's on the calendar for June 29th, 75 years ago today? It was the day they were married. The next morning, their daughter found out. Her mother had also passed away peacefully. It turned out that their common wish was to pass away happily together in an embrace. Follow me. Get more true stories every day.
That is like a story that's we can leave without coincidence, man. Like, that was their one true wish and it happened like just a day after each other, man. They were together that long. That's how they wanted to go out. That's really bizarre.
Here's every character I think that's going to be in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie. If you remember at the end of the movie, Abby ends up asking Mike, hey, when are we going to go back to see my friends? I want to see them. And Mike says, you never know what's going to happen. Now, in my opinion, this movie's going to be based at least 5 to 15 years in the future. Now, hear me out. If we're following the plans of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 as a game, we have to go into the withered characters, because they've been untouched, unmaintenanced, and unloved for so long. We're going to be seeing withered characters in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Maybe not 15 years in the future, I may have dragged it a bit, maybe 3 to 5 years in the future. And as you guys know, all of the withered characters are a little bit more devious. And why are they more devious? Because these kids have been left alone for so long. They loved Abby, they loved hanging out with her. Yes, they wanted to kill her, but still. Withered Freddy, withered Chica, look at Bonnie, she doesn't have a face. Withered Foxy, Golden Freddy. Also think we're going to be seeing the puppet as well, aka Mike's little brother. So hear me out, I'm going to be the first one to say it. When we get a Five Nights at Freddy's 2, we are going to get withered characters. It's going to be based at least 3 to 5 years in the future. Just look at withered Bonnie. Imagine Abby pulls up, getting ready to see her friends, and all of a sudden sees Bonnie. My other theory is that they are going to be pissed. They've been left alone for way too long and miss their friend. And that is what's going to drive this next movie to be absolutely insane. Like and follow for more.
Yep, this nightmare is real, and planes are literally flipping over when passengers get up from their seats. A flight attendant for JetBlue had to issue an emergency announcement, making everyone realize their worst nightmares had come true on the plane, with one woman leaving a grim and dark message saying she wasn't sure if she'd ever see her grandkids again. The flight attendant asked all passengers to spread out as their weight was believed to be causing the plane to flip over, telling everyone to move to the middle of the plane.
So very slowly, little by little, move towards the middle of the apron because apparently everything is like it tips out.
With a tech expert saying this was so terrifying, he described it as the plane was about to do a backflip.
It felt like the plane was about to do a backflip.
Which begs the question of how safe are these planes to begin with. Many of the passengers had rushed to the rear of the plane when deplaning, which caused this, but there's still many questions which JetBlue does not have the answers for. While no one was injured, we don't know if this is something that can happen to all planes or if it's rare.
See how this fake thug reacted to a life sentence. In 2015, Jaleel Smith Riley was arrested for his involvement in a 2013 robbery that left Aaron Martin with a bullet in his head and Portia Brooks dead. Smith Riley pled guilty to the crime and was hoping to avoid a life without parole sentence. Prior to being sentenced, he cried and begged for leniency.
Consequences, man. A fake thug, bro.
His grandfather also spoke on his behalf.
He always come by to check on me and his grandmother. He always did. He worked in the church with us all.
When the judge spoke, Riley Smith didn't like what he heard.
Four defendants serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder.
Check it out.
This heartless thug will die in prison.
Hey man, you have to deal with the consequences. If you wanna be about that life, you gotta know what comes with it.
One of the most disgusting shock videos on the internet explained. I'm explaining this off memory and other people's comments. There is no way I watch this video again because it's that gross. The video is 1 minute long, and as it starts, you hear a piano track over the video and you see 2 girls making out. But at around 10 seconds in, it gets absolutely sickening. One of the girls gets a glass cup and defecates in it, filling it all the way to the top. A jump cut then occurs and it shows the 2 women licking the feces in the cup like it's ice cream. It cuts again and it shows one of the girls rubbing the feces around her mouth, and the video then cuts again, and it shows the 2 girls making out with feces in their mouth and all over their faces. The next scene, one of the girls sticks her fingers down her throat, trying to make herself vomit into the glass as the other girl licks it. The next scene, it shows one of the girls standing up and the other one is on her knees. The one standing up then pukes directly onto the face of the girl on her knees. The final scene shows both girls completely covered in feces as it's even overflowing their mouths. And this is where the video finally concludes. This video is absolutely sickening, and when I tell you not to watch it, don't watch it. I know I say that for all the videos I cover, but this one isn't brutal or gory. It's just plain out disgusting, and you really just don't want to see it. You can watch reactions on YouTube of people watching this for the first time. Joe Rogan even has his reaction video up from years ago.
Ooh.
Hey guys, do you remember Adam Johnson, the hockey player who suffered the fatal cut to his neck in a hockey game on October the 28th? Well, the player whose skate caused the injury has actually been arrested and charged with manslaughter. This is Matt Petgrave, probably not saying that right, but he is the player whose skate caused the injury to Johnson's neck. And news out today is saying that he has been arrested and charged with the manslaughter of Adam Johnson. Now, initially, I was kind of shocked at this news. And all of the footage that I saw, I did not think that it was intentional. But then, when you go back and you watch the replay in slow motion, that kind of changes things. Apparently, the hockey world and all of the hockey fans have been waiting on this to come. I'm going to add a clip in here that shows when the injury occurred during that hockey game. And you'll watch it through in regular time first, and then it will be played in slow motion. And I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are.
Here's how all of the missing children from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie passed away and became the animatronics. Well, as you guys know, little backstory, these kids ended up going to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They all ended up disappearing in, I'm pretty sure, 1984, all because of William Afton. Wanted to run some experiments and see if he was able to combine children's souls with these animatronics. And let's just say he did his damn thing. Up first is Freddy. It is said that Freddy's original character was unalived by hiding, which kind of makes sense because you never really see Freddy doing any wild shit. I mean, you see him, but he's always kind of just like lurking or pretending to be still. Then have Foxy, said to be the soul of one of the kids that was running, hence the reason Foxy is always so fast and always running. We also have to take into the account the kid in the orange, who has Foxy's hook, and literally starts sprinting as soon as Mike gets too close. Then have Chica, who's said to have the embodiment of one of the kids that was screaming. Seems as though you always see Chica when she jump scares people in the games is she's screaming, which kind of makes sense. Then have Bonnie, who's said to be after one of the kids that fought back. He obviously didn't win. That shows why Bonnie's always so brawling. Then you have Golden Freddy, who's said to be the souls of 2 children. Which is supposed to be someone named Cassidy, but in the movie it's Mike's little brother. That's the theory. Like and follow for more.
Oh no.
Those theories are crazy.
No.
I thought that I had seen everything when it came to cults, but you are not prepared for what this cult believes. So HBO just released this documentary about the Love Is One cult, which was run by this woman, Amy Carlson, who calls herself Mother God. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but she believed she was controlled by the spirit of Robin Williams, and this yassified version of Saint Germain. Also, I cover a lot of dark stuff on this page, so you should follow along. She also said she could channel and get advice from this galactic federation of dead celebrities. There's Mr. Rogers, Carrie Fisher, Steve Irwin, and randomly Donald Trump, who is not dead. But Robin Williams is at the top, and so the cult believes they're getting a lot of advice through Robin Williams, so they'll say things like, so one of the beliefs that this cult has is that one day Robin Williams is going to arrive in a spaceship to take Mother God away so that she can spiritually ascend. He also told her that she can only be 103 pounds to get on the spaceship, which is why she's trying to lose a lot of weight. Eventually, Mother God starts getting sicker and sicker, and also bluer and bluer because of the colloidal silver supplements they won't stop giving her, and everyone thinks, oh my god, Robin Williams must be coming on a spaceship really soon to help Mother ascend. Eventually, she passes away, and guess what? Shockingly, Robin Williams does not descend in an intergalactic spaceship to come collect the 103-pound body of Mother God. And so the cult members just have her body. They don't know what to do with it. They thought Robin Williams was going to come. So they hang out with it for 12 days until the police finally show up. Anyways, this whole thing is a trip. You just gotta watch it to believe it. I'm seeing photos.
Should we check that out, Seekers, man? People who be getting caught up in those groups, man, they be into some weird things. But to say that they thought Robin Williams was going to come down in a spaceship, that's just one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard watching these videos together with you guys. Be careful, man, of those groups.
Show a 13-year-old boy. Police say he murdered his mother, and before that, he's standing over her in a vulnerable position as he's getting ready to her to death. Derek Rosa snapped a selfie after the crime, his hands smeared with blood.
Cell phone video shows the moment a teenage boy surrendered with his hands up.
His demeanor, he was very quiet, apologetic, very respectful. Not what you would expect walking into that home and seeing that crime scene.
The 13-year-old, identified as Derek Rosa, is currently in secure detention. When officers arrived to Unit 201 inside the Amelia Oaks apartment complex, they found the victim in her bedroom with multiple wounds, just inches from her newborn baby girl.
Next to her was a crib. and inside of that crib, a 14-day-old baby that fortunately was not injured.
Places that will disappear in your lifetime. Venice, Italy is a beautiful place, but it will disappear in your lifetime. Venice is slowly sinking.
What?
The canals cause many floods, and these floods are causing Venice to tilt east. Experts say that by 2100 the city will be uninhabitable. The Great Wall of China is amazing, but it will soon be gone. 1/3 of the wall has already been destroyed. This is mainly due to natural damage, for example climate change, but people walking on it and local settlements stealing bricks from it has also damaged the wall badly. Experts say that within decades the wall may be gone. San Francisco is an amazing city. It's known for earthquakes, but in 2016 geologists found something scary. They found 2 earthquake fault lines underneath the San Francisco Bay. This could destroy San Francisco, and there's a 75% chance this could happen before 2086. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is one of the most amazing things in the world, but it won't be around for much longer. It's already decreased more than 50% of its original size, and lots of the vibrant coloured corals are now turning white. Some believe the Great Barrier Reef may disappear by 2030.
Damn, that's just in a couple of years. What the hell? All these places, man, that's about to disappear. I gotta see them before they go, man. The Great Wall, Venice, Italy. Hey, man, I want to travel. What the hell? I'm gonna have to put that on my list.
This is one of the worst true crime cases I ever covered, and this is a massive trigger warning. In 2007, the boy on the right named Gabriel Kuhn, who was 12 years old, was killed by Daniel Petrie, who was 16, and on the left. Daniel Petrie and Gabriel Kuhn became good friends and began playing an online role-playing game called Tibia. At one point of the game, Gabriel asked Daniel for 20,000 virtual cash to clear the stage. Gabriel borrowed money from Daniel to use in the game and then refused to pay him back. Gabriel then blocked Daniel on everything, and this made him furious, and he went to Gabriel's house to pay him a visit. A couple of days before the murder, Daniel called the home phone of Gabriel, and his mom answered. She explained that she would be out of town and that her son would be home alone if they wanted to play, completely unaware of the boys falling out. And on August 23rd, 2007, Daniel went to Gabriel's house and knocked on the door. Nobody answered, and Daniel kept knocking, but eventually Gabriel started speaking to Daniel through the door. Daniel told Gabriel to unlock the door and let him in, and if he apologized to him, everything would be fine. Believing this, Gabriel unlocked the door and let Daniel in. And after entering the house, Daniel locked the door behind him. Daniel then brutally assaulted Gabriel. Gabriel tried his best to defend himself, but he failed to do so. Daniel was older, bigger, and stronger. Gabriel was dripping in blood after being brutally beaten by Daniel. Daniel then laughed at the terrified Gabriel and took him to the bedroom, where he then sexually assaulted him. Gabriel cried, but this made Daniel even more cruel. After all of this, Gabriel threatened Daniel, saying he would tell his mother everything that happened, but this only made Daniel more mad. And in a fit of rage, Daniel took a cord from a gaming console and wrapped it around Gabriel's neck and strangled him with it until he went limp. Daniel assumed Gabriel was dead, and believing this, Daniel tried to move and hide the body in the crawl space, leading to the bedrooms. However, the body was too heavy, and after realizing this, Daniel searched the house for sharp tools, and eventually he found a kitchen knife and a hacksaw. Daniel then returned to Gabriel's body, and in order to make it lighter, he took the knife and hacksaw and began cutting at the top of Daniel's leg to remove it, and as Daniel cut into Gabriel's leg, he woke up. Gabriel wasn't dead. He let out a blood-curdling scream, but Daniel restrained him, making sure to twist and turn the blade to make it even more painful. Eventually, Daniel dismembered his right leg and moved to his left. And after severing both of his legs, Gabriel passed away. His autopsy suggested he was still alive throughout the whole ordeal, and he eventually died from shock and blood loss. After Daniel finished the dismemberment, he tried to hide the body again, and he wrapped a cable and wire around Gabriel's body. But the body was still too heavy, and Daniel then fled the house. Gabriel's body was discovered by his brother, and the body was left by the hallway door and the legs and the hacksaw too. Daniel Petrie was admitted to a juvenile center in September 2007 to only 3 years. This is due to Brazil's laws of sentencing minors. And to make you realize how evil Daniel was, when the judge asked him if he had any last words of remorse, Daniel said this: "Gabriel was a coward and a thief. He burns in hell right now where I sent him. And when I die, I will find him in hell and finish my revenge." It's also worth saying that the photos of the crime and Gabriel's body had surfaced on the internet and nobody knows how they got there. I highly recommend not to look at them due to the graphic nature of them, and they would definitely be the worst crime scene photos you will ever see. It's honestly insane how Daniel is walking free today. May Gabriel rest in peace.
This is the case of 19-year-old Alexi Treviso and how she went to the
needs to be
hospital
fixed.
complaining of back pain, but ended up getting charged with murder. Alexi Treviso was a 19-year-old senior in high school living in Artesia, New Mexico. She was on the varsity cheerleading team, and she was dating her boyfriend Devin for about 2 years. Honestly, Alexi just seemed like a typical teenage girl. Her prom was coming up soon, her graduation was around the corner, and she was already thinking about what university she was going to go to in the fall. January 26, 2023, that day was pretty much just like any other day for 19-year-old Alexi. She went to cheerleading practice that day and got home in the afternoon. She spent some time with her family and then she went to bed. However, she was woken up in the middle of the night with severe back pain. This was like not normal back pain. Like Alexi was in so much pain that her mother decided to take her to the hospital. Alexi and her mother Rosa arrived at the Artesia General Hospital in the early morning hours of January 27. Alexi checked in and told the doctors that she had really bad pain in her back, so they wanted to do a test to see if maybe she had a UTI or a kidney infection, since back pain can be a symptom of both of those things. So they're getting ready to do those tests, and then they asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" Which is a very common thing to ask. I mean, if you're a girl and you've gone to the doctor before, I feel like they always ask you if you're pregnant. On top of that, experiencing back pain can be a symptom of pregnancy. So the doctor asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" And she says no, that she's still a virgin and that she hasn't engaged in any sexual activity. So the doctor's like, okay, perfect. And they send Alexi over to go get a CAT scan done so that they can check for kidney stone. And while she's getting that test done, the doctors decide to still do a pregnancy test just in case, because you never know. So they did a urine test, and when the results came back, they were positive. Alexi was pregnant. Now, of course, pregnancy tests can sometimes be inaccurate, so the doctors wanted to check her blood just to make sure that she was actually pregnant. And while all of this is going on, Alexi tells the doctors that she needs to go to the bathroom. Like, she has to go number 2, and it's coming out, like, right now. So she gets up from the hospital bed, and she literally runs to the bathroom holding her butt because she feels like it's going to come out. She locks herself inside the bathroom, and she's in there for quite some time. Doctors and the staff at the hospital are getting kind of worried because she's been in there for a while, and they know that she's pregnant. So they're thinking maybe she's having some type of miscarriage or something else is happening. They knock on the door, but Alexi refuses to come out. At one point, her mother Rosa also goes over to knock on the door, but Alexi says that she's just having trouble going number 2 and that she'll be out shortly. At this point, Alexi has been in the bathroom for more than like 20 minutes. So the doctors tell her, if you don't open the door right now, we're going to unlock it. Before the doctor can unlock the door, Alexi just opens up and starts walking back to her room. One of the doctors looks inside the bathroom just to see, what happened, and they do see that there was all over the floor. They asked Alexi, what's going on? And she said that she simply got her period. Call over the cleaning lady to come clean up the bathroom, and when she starts to take out the trash, notices that the trash bag feels heavier than usual. So Leela, the housekeeper, goes to look inside the garbage bin, and when she pulls out a bag, she finds a baby. The baby was inside a clear plastic bag at the bottom of the bin. Okay, more in part 2.
Never wake up a sleepwalker.
Do you want me to wake him up?
They're laughing. This ain't funny though.
This girl was freaking out when her sister got out of bed and started sleepwalking.
Stop staring at me like that. Alexis! Mom! Mom!
It's like a spirit takes the move.
She's just standing here staring at me. She can't. Hey. I got it down. Sienna.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What the
What is that? Most unusual deaths in human history, Part 5. On a flight to Congo, a crocodile that was smuggled on board escaped and began chasing passengers around the plane. In all the chaos, the plane became unbalanced and crashed, killing everyone on board except for one person and the crocodile. The Boston molasses disaster of 1919, a tank of molasses exploded, sending a 40-foot wave of syrup through the city at 35 miles per hour, killing 21 people and injuring 150 others. In 2007, the mayor of Delhi, Surinder Singh Bajwa, died while falling from his balcony attempting to defend himself from a pack of angry monkeys that were trying to attack him.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory theory is really creepy. So Mr. Willy Wonka is actually a serial killer. Sounds crazy, but let me explain. So every one of those kids, excluding Charlie, has a thought-out death plan. For instance, Augustus falls into the chocolate river and accidentally ends up being sucked up by one of the pipes. Then Violet ends up being turned into a giant blueberry due to the gum Willy Wonka gave her. Next, Veruca ends up being thrown into the garbage by trained squirrels. Next, Mike is accidentally turned into thin paper. Basically, all these kids died or ended up having accidents doing something they liked. Like in this scene, there was no extra seat for Augustus or his mother, almost like Willy Wonka knew he was gonna get into an accident. And if you think about it, why do the Oompa Loompas have a written out song for each one of the kids' accidents or deaths? Probably it was because of how traumatizing Willy Wonka's childhood was with candy, therefore he wanted to make sure that no kids would enjoy theirs.
I didn't even think about that. Dr. with Willy Wonka? I'd always did what happened to the kids, you know, after the accidents in the movies. Does that add up to the Seekers? Should I dig deeper into that? It's on the ground. What the hell? Scary.
Never attempt this. You can travel back in time 9 seconds at a time. To do it, reverse this video for the phrase. Here's the phrase. A might snido. If you got the code, then remember.
First in time, I'm gonna call cap on that. Edit.
A woman posted this footage online after visiting South Korea. Watch the clown in the background that appears to be following her. As she walks around and records herself talking to the camera, she notices the clown is in a lot more of the shots. Watch.
He looks creepy. Does he look at me?
First she plays it off as a joke, but as she walks through the shopping mall, he's sat in the background. And then he's behind her again.
Because this strange guy, he's here, and it's not funny.
The woman has finally had enough of the creepy clown and makes her escape, spotting him on camera as she's running through the shopping mall in a couple more places. When the police arrived, the clown had disappeared.
Yeah, we don't know if that was a skit or something, or if that was legit. Because he kept following on all over the place. But as soon as the cops come, he disappeared. That's not adding up. Creepy clowns, man. We don't do those.
Let's talk about another one of the most terrifying short films on the internet. Just Delicious. In this short film, we are presented with a man who comes home every day to eat a lunch prepared by his wife. At first, everything seems fine, and he seems quite happy with the spread she's prepared. However, the man finds a single hair in his food, and that's when things start to go south. The man goes back to work, and the woman is left to clean up with a fresh black eye. In other words, the man is clearly physically abusive. The next day, the man purchases a steak for his wife to cook. And she does, but she gets tired of waiting for him, and the smell of the steak is too strong to resist, so she takes a single bite. Why shouldn't she, after all? She cooked it. Unfortunately, one thing leads to another, and in her bliss, the woman eats the entire steak. Terrified, the woman begins to frantically look for a replacement, but she has no money to purchase another steak. Across the street, she sees a funeral occurring, and gets a vile idea. In her desperation, the woman cuts out the liver of the recently deceased man across the street to replace the steak. Her husband, unaware that it is a replacement, enjoys the meal thoroughly, and the two of them go to sleep. That night, the ghost of the deceased man appears asking where his liver is. The answer is obvious. The man meets his demise, and the film comes to a close. The man didn't know what he was eating, however, he was responsible in some way for his downfall. Had he controlled his temper with his wife on a consistent basis, she might not have been scared to tell him she ate the steak, thus avoiding the whole situation. Follow for more.
These are scary things hidden in your favorite Disney movies, part 5. First up, we have Monsters, Inc. In case you guys missed, basically, you can see Nemo hung up on the wall. Disney, please explain. So next up, we have the movie Coco. So in this scene, you can see that the toys from Toy Story are hung up. Right there is Woody and Buzz Lightyear.
That's not a normal deer. It's actually a zombie. This deer has chronic wasting disease. It's caused by a malfunction of proteins called prions, which can lead to lesions all over the brain, causing the deer to deteriorate physically and mentally. Infected deer will completely lose their sense of awareness, walking around in circles and repeatedly falling down. It also makes them lose their sense of fear, meaning they won't react to hunters, predators, or even a car on the freeway. Since it can also affect elk and moose, it's a bad look for everyone. There's more symptoms like losing weight and excessive salivation, but since this disease literally destroys them from the inside, the last symptom's always death. Right now, it's strongly believed that we can't catch wasting disease, but we just found out that some primates can. And since some people accidentally eat infected deer and elk meat, this zombie deer disease might just come for us eventually. And if that happens, we might have to deal with a whole zombie apocalypse. If we can get put on pause by a bat, we can get Island Legend by it.
Okay, let's chronic waste disease of deers. Ain't nothing to play with, man.
Sweetheart, it's bedtime. Nah, I don't want to go to bed. What? I thought you love your temporary death. I do usually, but my friend's trying to come out of the closet. Probably, but he's having a really hard time. Oh, do you want me to talk to him about it? Yeah, I think it would help if an adult talked to him. Okay, I'm gonna do it the first thing in the morning. Okay, well, he's in the closet. I know, I'll talk to him about it tomorrow. Why? The closet's right there.
Carter. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up on this video, comment down below, hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.